Thank you for joining us. Today's webinar is all about our LiveAway program in Cyprus that is happening next March, so just under a year from now. This is consistent with our program in Cyprus that we've done for the last couple of years. For those who've attended many of our webinars, just bear with me for a moment while I share about what Wheel and Anchor is all about with those who are new to us. We've had a lot of new members joining us over the last couple of weeks. We are a community of travelers from all across Canada. And what we have in common is a shared passion for travel that is a little bit different than the stuff that you buy off the shelf at your local travel agency. And I don't mean that in a derogatory way, right? The travel industry has become very commoditized, and it's all package tours abound. And so what we do is a little bit different. First of all, we pull programs together. We curate them ourselves, usually starting with me, based on experiences that I've had from around the world, and also those from our members. We take our member input, and we try to deliver them in a way that is a little bit slower paced, that allows you to experience, particularly in the case of a LiveAway, something that you have time on your own, because travel is as much as fun as it is being part of a group. And this is, again, the idea behind Wheel and Anchor is that shared experience, that connecting with other people. And when you go out and you have these amazing trips around the world, and you make new friends along the way, you've got people to share it with. You've got new friends, old friends. And so the connection aspect of Wheel and Anchor is really a big part of what we're all about. So we're here to have you be well-traveled, and well-traveled doesn't mean ticking off, 100 countries. Although you certainly be well-traveled if you visited 100 countries, but it's be able to come back and say, I always say, when you've really traveled, as opposed to just been a tourist and been on a cruise ship and stopped at a port and you were there for a couple hours, and 2 weeks later you don't even remember exactly where you were. If you've taken in a place at the kind of pace that we like to have, you'll relate to it like you lived there, hence the term LiveAway. And you'll have a connection to the person that runs the bakery down the street from wherever you're staying, because you'll come in there every day or every other day. And you resonate with the people, the experiences, and all the rest of it. So that's, anyway, I could go on and on, but that is the idea, the philosophy that we have here at Wheel and Anchor. All of this wouldn't be possible without an amazing team of people that I have managed to assemble, that put all these programs together. So by way of introduction, my name is Gordon Dreger. I'm the founder of Wheel and Anchor. I'm the guy that came up with this crazy idea. Together with Paula, who is our lead trip specialist, we bring to you these amazing programs. And again, we have a whole cast of characters behind the scenes that make this all happen. So that's who we are. And our agenda for today is, again, it's all about our LiveAways, which is thinking about alternative ways to spend part of, the winter and early spring time of the year, when, let's face it, if we look at the weather, the crazy weather in Canada, from what I've heard, I wasn't there. Where would you rather be during the winter months than some of these wonderful and exotic places that we have? And today it's all about Cyprus, where we're going next March. What is a LiveAway? And again, if you've heard this before, tune me out for a minute. The idea of a LiveAway is, it's first of all a longer stay in one place, or in two places in the case of Cyprus. But the point is that our LiveAway programs are broken down into 2-week blocks, 2-week segments. Sometimes it's 2 places in 1 week. 2 places in 2 weeks. Other times it's 1 place in 2 weeks. And we have many LiveAways that you can spend a whole month, again, in 1 place or 2. But the point is that you are staying in one place, you're settling in. We orient you to what's going on in the immediate neighborhood, and we encourage you to not only consider the experiences that we've put together based on our own experience and working with our partners and delivering these LiveAways year after year, but also that you do a little bit of research and go off and explore on your own. again, the benefit here is that you've got a host, you've got other people that are there, you've got our local partners, our guide. So there's always sort of somebody to come home to, so to speak, in the evening, or to do stuff with. So it's that shared connection, but allows you also to go out and experience stuff on your own, which is kind of where the magic of travel really happens. So all of that is what's available in a LiveAway program. As I say, we give you a package, if you will. I kind of don't like the word, but consisting of your transfers, your accommodation, breakfast in many cases, but not in all cases. We give you a whole host of excursions to choose from, and we include an activity credit. And so what the activity credit does is you can then choose, I kind of like to do this and this and this, or this and this and that, or maybe I want to do less. And in which case, if you don't actually use the whole activity credit, then we'll give you the money back because it's yours. But if you want to do everything, because we have some members who are like, I want to do something every day, then of course you'll top that up to make up the difference for the rest of the excursion. So it gives you that flexibility to create the experience that you want. We do this program in a few different places in the world, and we're gradually expanding that. So in Europe, in what we call our temperate LiveAways, we do it in Madeira in the Atlantic Ocean. We do it here in Cyprus. And we do it in this coming year. We'll be doing it in the Canary Islands. So I'm very excited about that. I've just come from my reconnaissance mission there. We'll be doing it in Mallorca. I'm on my way there next week. So that'll be a newest one. We do it, our tropical LiveAway programs in Koh Samui, Thailand, which is very popular every year. Bali, Indonesia. And we're going to be adding more destinations as we go. But because I like to make things as perfect as possible, it does, like, I can't add 10 a year because I've got to go to them all anyway. But those are the kind of places that we do, and that's kind of how it works. As I say, we were just there in Cyprus a few weeks ago, and so I included a few photos from our group, so you can see sort of some of the smiling faces from our folks that participated in this year's LiveAway program. And some of the places that we visited, stayed. And this is a great shot from the main market square in the northern part of Nicosia in North Cyprus. So this is just across the border, as it were, in northern Cyprus. The one thing here, you'll see a lot of smiling faces. Here you see empty plates. So a lot of food in Cyprus. For those of you who participated in some of our programs, I put a lot of emphasis on the culinary aspect of it. Not that it's like all gourmet cuisine, that's not the intention, but that you get excellent food, local food, fresh food, certainly ample quantities of it. We're trying to make sure that we don't serve too much food, but you certainly, generally speaking, because we don't include dinners in our program unless it's part of one of the excursions, a lot of people don't even bother having dinner because we've fed you so well during the excursions during the day. So anyway, a few shots here. As you can see, lots of smiling faces, lots of fun had by all. I heard amazing reviews from our host this year that the group had just a marvelous time. So let's go to the nuts and bolts of it all. Cyprus, where is it, first of all? Because again, Cyprus is for a lot of us, we know of it because, of course, this is a country, an island that was divided and is still divided for a long time. The Canadian peacekeepers were there for 25 years, monitoring this blue line that separates northern Cyprus and southern Cyprus. So we're going to be staying in the Republic of Cyprus, which is a country, of course, that is the majority, sort of 2/3 of the island down here. The first 2 weeks we stay in Larnaca, which is on the east side of the island, around where where there's actually 2 airports, but the major airport is around Larnaca. And then the second 2 weeks we stay in Paphos. So you can choose to do either or both. So you can do just the first 2 weeks in Larnaca or the second 2 weeks in Paphos. And I'm going to explain to you a little bit of the difference between those programs and why it's worth spending a whole month there. Cyprus, again, going back to the bigger picture here in the eastern part of the Mediterranean. So you have Turkey immediately to the north. You've got Syria, Lebanon, Israel all over here. Of course, names that we don't like to mention because we're like, oh my God, we're close to Israel. Well, we're not that close, so you don't have to worry about that. Everything is fine in Cyprus. and it is known for having great weather. So all year round, it gets really hot in the summer, which is the popular time for European tourists to go. They fly down from the UK and Germany and all over Europe to enjoy the beaches. A little too hot for me in the summertime, and not really what we're about. But a lot of people and more folks from Europe are retiring down here, particularly to the area around Paphos, but also to the largest center in southern Cyprus, Limassol, and in Larnaca. And you'll see that, the development, the condos, because they have sunshine all year round. And usually the temperatures in winter in March are already, into the low 20s or even warmer. And the sea is cool, but certainly swimmable. I mean, that's kind of up to you. So let's get into the nitty gritty, talking about, first of all, the first part of the Liveaway, which is in Larnaca. We are staying in, it's kind of like a mini condo. And again, I found this place during our first Liveaway program 2 years ago. Was it 2 years ago? To Cyprus. And it is just outside the historical heart of Larnaca. And yeah, it's like a little mini condo building. So it's has beautiful apartments on the rooftop. They've got this amazing view out over the old town, looking out to the sea. It's very modern, eclectic design inside. You can see the condo units. Everybody really loved these apartments because they're new, they're fresh. I wish they were like this in every single destination we go, quite honestly. And so we've managed to secure these places again for next year. And again, when you're inside the apartment, it's almost like you could be in a condo in Manhattan or something like that. Very funky, modern, comfortable. As soon as you walk out the door, you've got, the sort of dusty historical limestone buildings that are, the original heart of downtown Larnaca. And we have both 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom apartments available here. 2 bedrooms, theoretically you could have 2 couples, but it's actually ideal for 2 solo travelers that want to travel together but don't necessarily want to share a bedroom. So it's a great option that's available there. So what do you do in Larnaca? Well, as I said, Larnaca is on the eastern part of the Republic of Cyprus. It's a town that's right on the beach. So there's a large beach there. It's great. It's great for strolling around and wandering and enjoying the sunshine. And it's touristy, but it's not super touristy. You'll see Paphos is a little bit more touristy, and I'll explain about that in a minute. But the main reason that we've chosen Larnaca to stay for 2 weeks is because it is the closest larger town, city would be an exaggeration, to access northern Cyprus. So northern Cyprus and southern Cyprus, northern Cyprus is depending on who you ask, is either the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus, or whatever the correct terminology is, escapes my mind at the moment. But it was, of course, occupied by Turkey, by Turkish forces in the 1970s. And a lot of the Cypriots that were from the south were essentially expelled and sent home. And so in the north, they speak Turkish Cypriot, and in the south, they speak Cypriot, which is Greek for all intents and purposes. I have to be careful what I say, because of course it's not exactly Greek, and they sound Greek, they look Greek, but they are definitely consider themselves not to be Greek. But the similarities are very apparent. So in the north, you have Nicosia, which is the only divided capital city in the world. So literally the border between north and south goes right through the middle. It's a fascinating city to visit because, of course, there's all of the history there. And then there's all of this sort of this division. The reality in Cyprus is that north and south, the original Cypriots, those guys that were there already for generations, they generally get along really, really well, because at one point it was all one island with one population, and some spoke Turkish and some spoke Greek. In Canada, some speak English and some speak French, and we more or less get along. Anyway, that's another story. And in Cyprus, it's very much the same. But of course, since the occupation, there's a lot of political turmoil, and it's largely political. You cross the border, as it were. You have to show your passport. They don't even stamp your passport, if I'm not mistaken, when you walk across the border in Nicosia, or we drive across the border if we're going to these other spots. And then we explore on foot, and you'll immediately see the difference in Nicosia between, the more wealthy, established southern side, the Republic of Cyprus, versus the north, which is, let's say, suffered more challenging times. One of the most amazing cities in North Cyprus that we visit on a separate excursion is up to Kyrenia. It's one of the oldest cities in Cyprus. And here's the thing as well that I want to say. If the tourist office of the Republic of Cyprus was listening to me about this presentation, they frown upon the promotion of Northern Cyprus because, again, the politics are very complicated and there's still a lot of tension at a political level and yeah, a lot of upset over what happened. But quite honestly, some of the most incredible aspects of Cyprus are to be found in the north, and Kyrenia is one of them. We visit an incredible monastery high up in the mountains with a great view down on this port city. There's an amazing fortress here at the port, and we have a terrific lunch overlooking the north side of the island. Famagusta is another town on the eastern coast of North Cyprus. It's actually right on the border between north and south, and Famagusta is quite famous for some different things. It has some magnificent ruins and fortresses and that are sadly mostly in ruins. There's actually quite a large Colosseum that's well preserved. There's this cathedral here that was partially destroyed. And so again, here you see the different religious influences and all the things that happen over the course of history. But in Famagusta, there was the quite tragic story that when the occupation happened, families were literally driven from their houses from one evening to the following morning. And there's a whole section of town that is like a ghost town of houses that have been sitting there since the 70s, since that day when they were all forced out of their homes. It's like a ghost town. And you can sort of walk around in it, and it's kind of eerie, but it's actually a sobering reminder of, what happens when these sort of major political events happen. We'll witness all of that in Famagusta. Cyprus is also super well known for the wines. A lot of the wine is grown in a lot of Cyprus. You probably haven't had a lot of Cypriot wines before. You can maybe get them in Canada, but I certainly haven't seen too many. But you see all of these great varieties that are quite unique. And this is one of the, for those who enjoy wine, you get to learn about the different varieties that often predate, the familiar ones that we have. So that's what we do on our so-called Vino ventures, explore some of the wine culture of Cyprus. On the southwestern tip is one of the most popular summer resort destinations called Ayia Napa. Here, there's some spectacular coastline. This gives you a little bit of a glimpse to it. These jagged limestone formations that come down. And the color of the water, by the way, around Cyprus in the Mediterranean is absolutely bedazzling. So we'll get to experience some of that in and around Ayia Napa. There's also a very cool sculpture park there. And it's just a nice place to enjoy a bit of the beach town feel, which differs quite a bit from the historical feel from Larnaca, where we're staying. We'll go a little bit, as is noted here, off the beaten track. We work with a wonderful young British lady who has some incredible culinary type tours that she runs. So that's where the funny sort of pun name here, and we'll explore a little bit of the culinary aspects of Cyprus. You'll be probably at more than one meze, which is, when they get together typically on weekends, and they have this huge smorgasbord of food, a lot of meats, a lot of lamb and goat and pork, and it's absolutely incredible. But you will come away feeling almost a little bit overwhelmed from the food. But I think learning a little bit about what the Cypriot cuisine is about, like we do in a lot of places, just gives you an insight into their cuisine is simple on one hand, and like a lot of cuisines are, but it takes certain spices, certain flavors that accentuate it and really make it something particularly special. And again, the opportunity to go kayaking, there is, for those, and we have a lot of members more and more who are asking us to be active, like they want to get out and do walks, they want to keep moving. There's certainly lots of walks in Cyprus, and I'll talk about some of those on the Paphos part of the trip. But kayaking is something you can do, and there's some beautiful areas. There's a huge bay just outside of Larnaca that, when the water is calm, which is often, you can go kayaking through. There's a whole area where there's flamingos, some very, very cool spots. You can't actually kayak where the flamingos are. It's a protected area, but you can kayak along the coast and enjoy some of the the views of Larnaca and the area from the water. So that gives you a little bit of a summary of the first part of our trip. The second part, we moved to the west side of Cyprus and to a town called Paphos. And Paphos is actually more than 2,000 years old. But when you come into Paphos, it is arguably the beach destination, the beach capital of the island, because all along the main beach you have these sort of giant hotels, one next to another, which in the summertime are filled with sun seekers from Central European countries. In the winter, it's a little quieter, and there's a wonderful promenade that walks all the way along the beach, and so there's a huge variety of restaurants and cafes, and it's a great place to just sort of walk around. We're staying at a lovely place that, again, we're coming back to year after year because our members really enjoy it. It's called Anemi. It's not far. It's only about 250 yards or so from the beach. But quite honestly, I looked at all the beach hotels and they were just too big and impersonal, whereas this place has a wonderful personality to it. It's close by to the beach. It has a wonderful swimming pool, and the rooms, here you can see the main dining room. It has a very convivial atmosphere. It suits our LiveAway very, very well. They've also got a rooftop terrace where you've got some nice sea views. And here again is the view over the pool. They've just actually, since I was there last, they've opened a whole new wing over here on the left-hand side. So they've got a bunch more sort of rooms to choose from. And again, you can see where the sea is back here. It's not far away. There's some different categories available here. You've got your studio rooms that, again, are very well appointed. They have rooms that are standard studios. They're in the older part of the building. Very nice. We also have the brand new ones, the so-called deluxe ones that you see are upgraded in here. And we have also one bedroom suite. So you've got a separate living room and bedroom, of course. They all come equipped with kitchens, so just like in Paphos, which is really handy because, again, you don't necessarily want to eat out 3 meals a day. We do have breakfast here in Paphos served every day. And so there's a big buffet breakfast. And by the time, again, you go out for an excursion for lunch and we have a meze or something like that, there's probably not a lot of room left for dinner, but you can warm something up that's left over, or you can go to the local supermarket and pick something up. So as I say, we have studios and 1-bedroom apartments available in Paphos. So during the day, what do you do in Paphos? Well, if you're not out on one of our excursions, as I say, there's a huge long promenade that you can walk. There's a whole point that goes around to the Paphos Archaeological Park that you can walk around. Oh, sorry, my phone is going off. Apologies for that. So there's a lot of great walking right in and around Paphos. For the excursions, the west side of the island is the more rugged part, particularly the northwest side where you have the so-called Accommodation Peninsula. This is a huge area of land that is all a protected reserve, and you can visit it by both sort of 4x4 and Jeep, as well as by boat to an area here called the Blue Lagoon. The Blue Lagoon is this sort of bay in here where, again, water is like literally like a swimming pool. It's so cool. So one of the options there is to join our land and sea program, where we do part of the tour through the Accommodation Peninsula by 4x4 and part of it on a boat cruise to the Blue Lagoon. We, of course, go with our guide, which will hopefully again be Nemo. He's an incredible individual who has taken us the last 2 times through the archaeological park outside of Paphos. This dates back to the 3rd century BC, and you get this amazing insight into how the civilizations here evolved and changed over time, particularly the ones that are back in this early era. So I can't say I'm a super knowledgeable on all the archaeological stuff. I've heard so much information, but it is, and the way that he explains it and tells it about how, it passed from one to the other over centuries, as if it was like, over a 6-month period. It's remarkable. We have our own, another Vino Venture activity that takes us on the west side of the Troodos Mountains. So in the middle of Cyprus, practically in the middle, on the west side in the middle, you have a high mountain range, with the highest mountain being 2,000 meters above sea level. In fact, the first year that we went to Cyprus, we were there a little bit earlier, and there was actually snow on the mountain. You can ski on the top of the mountain in Cyprus. You wouldn't think about it, but that's how high the elevation is. And up on the western banks, there are some incredible wine regions that we'll visit during our stay in Paphos. There's also the archaeological sites of Kourion and Colossi, which again are two very, very significant spots that date back to the era of the Knights Templar and Richard the Lionhearted, and you'll hear all the stories that relate to that when you're standing up at Kourion, which again has an incredible view over the surrounding landscape. So this is a very popular tour again for those history buffs. Here we'll also learn a little bit about halloumi. You may have heard of it before. Halloumi, of course, is a type of goat cheese that is now actually, the name halloumi is protected by, the trademark people, if you will, as originating from Cyprus. So other countries claim to make halloumi, but the actual, real, legitimate, only halloumi actually comes only from Cyprus. And you'll see how this delicious cheese is made. If you haven't had halloumi before, you'll bite into it, you'll have a halloumi sandwich or something like that, and you'll be like, oh my God, how do I get this at home? You can get it at home, but it's not nearly as good as in Cyprus. So when you're there, you'll learn all about what halloumi is all about. And similarly, as I said, in the vein of our culinary adventures, we'll do another food tour. And I remember this one very vividly from the last time. And we had an incredible experience seeing how some of these delicious things, in this case, like octopus, were prepared and served with all the amazing spices that are so unique to and more food. Suvla is yet another, like a shish kebab type. It's not exactly a shish kebab, but it's basically big chunks of meat on a skewer grilled over this certain hardwood and various leaves, and oh, so delicious. I'm getting hungry just thinking about the food. And as I mentioned again, I want to reiterate hikes and walks. There are a number of hikes. There's walking that you can do literally right out of the hotel. There are literally dozens of kilometers of walks along the seashore, up the western coast of the island, and as well as one can go into the mountains. So in addition to the ones that we offer as part of our program, there's more that you can do, and you can easily access a lot of it using the local bus system, which is actually remarkably efficient and easy, and you can get to sort of parts outside of the town of Paphos itself. So lots of information. I think this is an incredible destination because it is unique. It's unique to Canadians. Not a lot of us think about heading to this part of the world, but the feedback that we get is that they love the experience, the history, the food, and being in a place that is just really off the beaten track from where you would normally think about going in the winter season. So that's a little bit about Cyprus. Details, of course, are in our program itinerary, including all the pricing, and I won't go through it in great detail here. You can take a look at it. The first part here in Larnaca, where we have the beautiful Live Urban Hotel, or I should say apartment, that we're staying in. Here, the second part, again, in Paphos, with the different categories that are available there. And then, of course, you can combine it all together, which makes it even more reasonable than if you were to do the two parts separately. The other interesting thing, let me talk about inclusions for a second. You can see all the things in here. So what's included, you have to look through this in a little bit of detail because there's a lot of sort of bells and whistles to it all. So I encourage you to review all the bits of it in terms of what's included. But obviously your transfers, your accommodation, you've got a host that's there for the whole time. You've got your activity credit that will cover a bunch of your excursions. We've got some dinners that we include in the program. We give you a SIM card to be able to communicate. So there's a whole bunch that's part of this overall program. And the only thing that you need to, either with our assistance or on your own, is look after your airfare as well as cancellation and medical insurance. Yeah, there's a couple other less important points on there, but airfare and insurance are the other bits that are part of what you need to look after. For those who join us early, and when I say early, you've got actually until the end of August, we're able to include a Vino Venture excursion. So you get to choose either one of those if you book before the 31st of August. So we throw in a little excursion, and the wine tour is probably one of the best ones to join. So I'll be prepared to take any questions that you might have about this program in a second. One other thing I wanted to mention is that we set up our LiveAways in Europe such that they align with one another. They're back to back. So a number of our members every year will go first to Madeira and then to Cyprus, or from Cyprus to Malta, or from Cyprus to, you could connect it next year with the Canary Islands theoretically. So if you've done one, you could either go back and do a different one, or you could do two new ones, or you could just do one. There's a lot of different ways to sort of combine it. And so again, we can give you some guidance on what might make the most sense for you. So I'll take any questions now, Paula. But if there are any other questions that come in, just drop us a note, drop Paula a note. She'll be happy to answer your questions. Yeah, make sure you have everything that you need to know. So I've done enough talking. It's time to answer questions.
Well, you answered, and I know there's a number of members on this webinar that have been waiting eagerly for the release. And one of the burning questions has been, what can we combine this with next winter to extend our stay away? So you just threw out a number of the options that I had detailed to them. And yeah, if you want specific dates and other specifics, some of them are out and some of them are not quite out, but other will be shortly, like Sicily's tomorrow. Canary Islands will be coming shortly, Malta. And as Gordon mentioned, it does pair well with like Madeira. You could even combine it with Jordan. It could work well as well.
Actually,
so
yeah, so it works there. Sometimes there's two in between, but we can assist with an extra night or two, either on the front end or the back end, depending on which. But again, we put a lot of thought into the timing, as Paula said, so that if you're going to travel all this way to the Eastern Mediterranean, why not zip down to Jordan to tack on a week? It makes for a nice combination. So we can't answer all your questions in terms of, we can of course answer all your questions about the trips, but in terms of all the combinations that are available. But I suggest open up your calendar and take a look at what's happening when, and you can get a sense of what overlaps. What's adjacent to it.
Yeah, pop me a message and I can detail out the options and provide more information, the itineraries and the likes, so you can look at the combinations and how they would all come together. One of the questions that we have, and I know Cyprus has been unique. Well, anyway, a couple of years ago we had some unique weather, is how should members pack for this? Toucan gloves?
Give an honest answer that would actually be legitimate all the time. And I see a few names on that are participating on the webinar today who were just with me in Madeira. And we went from everywhere, everything from, I think we had 26 or 7 degrees to the last couple of days we were there. It was so summer, and we had some pretty heavy winds and rain and for a few days, and the weather's all over the map. Cyprus is generally more stable in March, in the sense that it gets like 300 days of sun a year. So you don't see a lot of rain. But the first year that we went, now mind you, we went a couple of weeks earlier. We happened to hit the coldest winter that they'd experienced in Cyprus in 70 years. So that's not likely to happen again. But even then, the temperatures at night, I think they dropped down to like 13, 14 degrees, which of course for the locals were absolutely frozen to death. And some of us were a little less prepared, because normally at this time of the year, your lows are in sort of the mid-teens, sort of 15, 16. It's cool at night. So sometimes you can sit out at night. Usually you'll need a light jacket or a little sweater. But during the day, typically the temperature is around 20 to 22 degrees. Again, I always am hesitant, because it could be 25. It could be 25. So you do have to layer a little bit, but you're talking about spring to early summer weather in terms of packing.
Either way, it's going to be better than it will be in Canada. I can probably guarantee you that.
That's a no-brainer.
Perfect. I have a question here with regards to deposit. Members asking, what is the deposit amount and when is that due? So the deposit's $1,500 per 2-week period, and it is due at the time of booking to secure your spot. And to secure your spot with us, you would reach out to myself and I will send you the booking form. And
Exactly.
also a sheet that we have additional information which describes arrival departure details, your arrival and departure transfer requirements that are included in the trip, amongst a number of other things, to questions you don't even know you always have yet, but members find it super helpful.
Exactly. So there's all that info there. We try to give you a lot of info, and I appreciate that there's sometimes we feel like it's too much info, but it's important. If you read through everything, most of your questions will get answered. And listen, I also highly suggest is because for a lot of you, it's maybe the first time you've even thought about going to a place like Cyprus. Google it. Do a little bit of Google what's traveling in Cyprus like, and read some articles, because you'll find some very, very interesting stuff about what this island has to offer. And there's a lot here. So again, for those who participated in places like Madeira or Sicily before for a lot of people at the beginning, when they think about a LiveAway, they're hesitant to go for a whole month. But in most cases, folks that went for 2 weeks were like, oh, damn, I wish I'd stayed for a month, because there's just so much to discover and explore. And you also want to relax and just sort of soak it all in. You don't have to do something every day. That's why we have the nice accommodation that we have. It's quite okay to sit on your terrace and read a book.
Yeah, exactly. One of the questions that we do have quite common, and I was actually just speaking to a member about this today, is how does the excursion and excursions work and the activity credit work? Do you want to elaborate on that for us, Gordon?
Yeah, exactly. So basically what happens is when you get the program itinerary, we give you the summary of all the different excursions that we have. When we get up to about roughly 3 months before the trip, maybe a little bit more, we will send you out again the exact detailed list of all the excursions, which is pretty much the same because we pre-organize all of these. And we send you out, here's all the excursions that are happening. And then we say, please choose what you want. So you'll have the excursion and the price, and we have the prices now as well. And they are subject to fluctuation, but honestly, they don't generally change much, if at all. And then you basically say, oh yeah, I want to do this, I want to do that, and you fill out our very simple form. You check off what it is that you want to do, and then roughly 3 to 4 weeks after that, we come back and basically say, because needless to say, because our groups are not that large. So on a LiveAway program like this year in Cyprus, we had how many? 16, 14, 16?
I was going to say it was in the teens. I don't remember exactly, but
less than 20. It was between 10 and 20. We don't remember off the top of my head, but it could be as many as, for our LiveAway programs like this, I think our max is 26, if my memory serves me correct, just based on what we, in our experience, know is a good size. So our excursions are subject to a minimum number of participants, but also a maximum number of participants. Very often, we run the same excursion twice because we will never run an excursion with 20 people on it. We just don't do that. Our optimal excursion size is usually between 8 and 12. In some cases, if there's a boat involved, it may be a bit bigger, maybe 14 people, just again, so that we can create an optimal value for money sort of equation. So as I say, you fill in your choices, we come back and we say, here's all of your list of excursions that are confirmed. We also say, here's a couple that we couldn't confirm, we didn't have enough interest. Would you like to reconsider and book anything else? So you can still add something else on. We have to do it all in advance because we do have very specific guides in particular that we like to use. In order to get those guides, we have to commit to them as early as possible. That's why we do all the arrangements in advance. I know the question will come, oh, can I book something on site? We don't encourage it. It's possible, but it's always subject to availability. So if an excursion has already the maximum number of participants, then we have to say no, because again, out of respect for everybody that signed up, we don't want the excursions to be too big. But if we can accommodate you, we will. But generally speaking, we ask that you pre-book anything. By the same token, you can also swap though. So if you come onto the trip and say, oh, I'm not really feeling so well today, but hey, you're going on that excursion next week, can we swap? That kind of stuff. We want to make it as comfortable for you as possible. At the same time, you know, respecting that there's a lot of logistics that go into coordinating these liveaways. So that's how it works.
Perfect. I think you covered a lot of the detail around it. I know it's something a bit unique, and usually members are kind of like, explain this to me, I don't quite get it, because it's not a very common thing out there, but it has been much loved and well worth the effort on our end to, I think, provide the flexibility for our members on these styles of trips.
Yeah, exactly. And I can honestly say if I looked at the list of members that went to Cyprus this year, I think half of them had been previously on another liveaway. So yeah, we think it's a great way to travel and see and really get a feel for the world. Any other
Yeah.
questions? But otherwise, I'm going to spare
Not
any more of my
Not
voice.
at the moment. I think we can wrap it up, and members can reach out to us if anything else further pops in, and I'd be happy to hear from them.
Amazing. Well, do drop us a note again, and thanks for tuning in today. I appreciate it, particularly those of you who are new to us at Wheel and Anchor. I really am, I'm excited to meet all of you, and I will be coming around Canada this summer to a few different spots. I can't say exactly where yet, but we're going to try and revive our events that we did up until COVID, because I'm so excited to come out and meet our members from different parts of the country. So stay tuned for that. It's a sneak peek on that one. All right, take care, everybody. Have yourselves a great rest of the day. Join us for another webinar soon. Tomorrow is Sicily, I think you were saying?
Tomorrow is Sicily. I was just going to quickly grab the link, hopefully, before you said anything. Tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern time.
Same time, same bat channel. Tomorrow, 1 p.m. And you put the link in there.
I'm doing it as quick as I can type. There we go.
Okay, great. So just before we go, the link is for our Sicily program there. Our Sicily program tomorrow, just as a final word, is a sojourn. It's a new format. So we're doing 5 nights in each of the sort of 3 corners of the island. We're doing the East Coast in Ortigia by the town of Siracusa. We're doing the very western coast, Trapani, which is adjacent to this beautiful archipelago of islands. And then we're doing Cefalù, which is on the north side of Sicily. So if you want to find more out about that, then join us tomorrow for that webinar. All of our webinars will be recorded and a replay sent to everybody who registers. So even if you can't make the date, you can always sign up and know that a day later, you're going to get the replay in your inbox. Once again, take care, everybody. Have a great rest of the day, and we'll see you all very soon. Ciao, ciao.